but we also indicated that we were going to have a press conference to present our position on the budget. We are happy that us here today for us to hold this press conference to be able to deliver our critique, our reaction to the 2025 budget as presented by the Minister of Finance. There are going to be 4 speakers. I will be starting as ranking member of the Finance Committee, and I'll be a bit technical. Then the Honorable Abuna Ose Asari will follow after me. She is the chair of the Public Accounts Committee of Parliament, and she will be followed by Honorable Dr. Gideon Waku, who is a member of the Finance Committee, and then Honorable Kojo Nkrumah will end it all. He is ranking on the Economy and Development Committee of Parliament. So all 4 of us will be addressing different aspects of our reaction to the 2025 budget. And so with these preliminary statements, I want to thank you very much, members of the media fraternity, for your support in disseminating our message to the Ghanaian people. You continue to be our great partners in our quest to deepen our democratic dispensation. And we are very hopeful that we will continue to travel this journey with you. You will recall that days before the budget presentation to Parliament by the Honorable Minister for Finance, Honorable Kesil Tufosi, who did the presentation on behalf of His Excellency the President Mahama, we hinted at clandestine plans by the government to manipulate to support their business claims of inheriting a badly managed economy from the previous NPP government. This carefully crafted strategy has been pursued right from the President himself during his message on the state of the nation and repeated at the National Economic Dialogue. The 2025 budget was, however, going to be the vehicle for confirming what has been perfectly rehearsed to ground the narrative and putting data to the unfounded claims. We have been vindicated. Our intelligence has been confirmed, and the minister has done the hatchet job. The government, through the 2025 budget statement, churned out fiscal deficit on commitment basis of 7.6% of GDP and a primary deficit of 3.6% of GDP. This would imply, if you look at them on their face value, that the NPP administration mismanaged the fiscals in accord with the intentions of the NDC government. In fact, an economy with such strong revenue performance and expenditure controls, as we have seen from the data the minister presented, cannot produce the kind of elevated fiscal outcomes the minister announced. We see a lot of contradictions there. And this, we are very confident, will be exposed. But colleagues, this is where it gets interesting. They have erroneously churned out this wrong data in a bid to tarnish the image of the NPP administration by including 49.2 billion Ghana cedis in expenditure claims without any basis. Before the start of the IMF program in 2023, we had agreed with the IMF to set the fiscal anchor based on which we will monitor the IMF program. And these were the fiscal balances. It was in a bid to have a real-time view on arrears accumulation. So we ring-fenced commitments that had gone through the GIFMIC system then and were awaiting payment. These commitments were termed outstanding expenditure claims. Thus, if you look at the 2022 budget outcome, you will see this concept in there. Per the IMF program, we then agreed to monitor the evolution of these claims vis-a-vis their net build-up. The reason for this approach is that Ghana is a developing nation with developmental needs. And so it was going to be unrealistic in the context of the program to not have new commitments. But the plan was to ensure that on net terms, the build-up remained almost neutral to avoid a significant build-up in areas which also hurts the economy. Also, it is important to note that if we look at the arrears clearance strategy prepared by the Ministry of Finance and submitted to the IMF in 2023, the fulfillment of the end September 2023 structural benchmark. The amount in expenditure claims, which we describe as arrears, was 47.5 billion dollars. This amount, after an aging profile analysis, had payments outstanding right from around 2012-2013. So while we do not doubt the possibility of accumulating some arrears between end 2022 and end 2024, given our own peculiar liquidity constraints, including outstanding expenditure claims gathered from MDAs, we are very surprised that this was done without first undertaking the correct verification or audit of the numbers, which the minister himself alluded to in his speech, paragraph 135, he now intends to do. Therefore, just lifting a certain stock of expenditure claims of 49.2 billion Ghana cedis and inserting it into the fiscal frame to create an impression as though all those claims were generated in 2024. It's not just including expenditures that are alien to the fiscal framework, but also shows a clear lack of understanding of the mechanics of the fiscal framework. But this is very surprising to us that the minister could do that, because we expected him to know. And if he doesn't know, we expected him to be advised by the technical at the Ministry of Finance. We must also note that our fiscal framework focuses on central government operations. Therefore, claims which have not been properly audited can introduce many elements of general government, which is what we think has happened. A classic example is the Comptroller and Accountant General's final accounts, which is one of the sources of information for the fiscal framework, but is based on general government accounting. So if you take the information from it on the face value and plug it into the fiscal framework, you will be reporting on two very distinct items. And so what we usually do at the Ministry of Finance is to work through the numbers and pick the central government expenditures from it. This can only be done, ladies and gentlemen, through verification and auditing. It is therefore curious how the finance minister will come to Parliament with a budget and say that the fiscal deficit and primary deficit on commitment, which he announced, were derived using a certain data on claims, which he is yet to audit. Yet, he has announced results derived from the data to the effect that the economy was badly managed. It is too elementary to know that when you have not audited your figures, you cannot use them for an important work like the national budget. Otherwise, you create credibility problems for the conclusions of the budget, as the Honorable Atufosin has just done. And so you put 49.2 billion Ghana cedis in the fiscal framework to arrive at higher fiscal deficit. And then, in the same budget, you say that you are yet to audit the 49.2 billion Ghana cedis. So on what basis, before putting it in the Ghanaian public, that the government mismanaged the fiscals of the country? This is Azam, this is Sakawa. The technical people at the Ministry of Finance are professionals. And I want to know if the Honorable Atu refused your advice. What I do know is that we've gone through 3 successful IMF reviews, and the technical people never told us that we needed to compile claims from several years and include it in the fiscal framework. We were never told that. 3 reviews. Why they will do that in the last review, the 4th review, that is going to happen, we don't understand. And this is why even the IMF has to speak to this. Because you cannot have inconsistent methodologies in assessing program implementation. You did the first review, the second review, the third review. You didn't bring arrears from multi-years into the fiscal framework. You use only arrears accumulated from the beginning of the fiscal year, the very fiscal year you are assessing. 3 of them, you didn't